What is good, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Chad bringing y'all another video, man. And it's been a minute. It's probably been like 12 days or so. I don't know how long it's been. But yeah, sorry for the wait. Sorry for not uploading for you guys. Thank you to everybody that subscribed, watch a video, anything like that throughout the length of this channel. But this video, we're going to be talking about basically what's happening Thursday, the markets, as well as like if we're in a recession or not. Now, if you've watched my videos personally, you already know I said 3 or 4 months ago, maybe 5, we're in a recession already. It didn't take a genius to figure out that we're in a recession. You can just look around and see we're in a recession. High gas prices, high inflation, high rent, high housing market, everything like that. Plus the policies and stuff that, the Biden administration is putting forth is just foolishness. Is not helping anybody. But basically what I want to talk about is how on Thursday, I forgot the name of the sector, but the people that basically say if we're in a recession or not, which a recession is determined by 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. So like the economy's not really growing, it's just going down. And so for the first quarter, we've already had negative GDP growth. And a lot of people are like, well, maybe we won't be in a recession, maybe the second quarter be better. And I'm just letting people know now that, my assumptions or my prediction are the second quarter will be negative GDP growth as well. I mean, honestly, like I said, we've been in a recession, but people are trying to ignore it, I guess, and just act like it's not happening. But in actuality, it is. So I'm going to just play a few clips for you guys. We have Biden here, who's basically just going to say that he doesn't think that we're going to have a recession. We're not in one. The job market's great and stuff. And I don't know where Biden's living. It doesn't seem to be like on earth where I am, where I see what's happening. Maybe in the White House they have some different stuff that's going on. But yeah, I'll go ahead and just roll that clip.
And Mr. President, we're getting GDP numbers on Thursday. How worried should Americans be that we could be in a recession?
We're not going to be in a recession, in my view. The employment rate is still one of the lowest we've had in history. It's in the 3.6 area. We still find ourselves with people investing. My hope is we go from this rapid growth to steady growth. And so we'll see some coming down. But I don't think we're going to, God willing, I don't think we're going to see a recession.
What will be comments from some saying 2 quarters of negative growth in a row, that's a recession.
Right, and certainly in terms of the technical definition.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, like I said, I don't know where really Biden's getting this from. Maybe he's just being optimistic, I'll give him that. But in the reality of the situation is, like I said, last quarter's GDP growth was negative, and I'm expecting for this GDP growth to be negative. Like I said, it is categorized as 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, which means that if Thursday they determine that, we're at negative growth, then it's not saying, oh, we just entered a recession. It's saying we've been in one, because this will be the growth for June or July. I forgot which one it is for Thursday. And it's basically saying that we've been in a recession. They're just now going to start calling it a recession. But everyone who has to know knows we've been in one. You even have the lady who, I forget these people's names because they just kind of like mess up so much. I just like, at this point, knowing their names is irrelevant. I just know what their task is. She was the same person last year who said that inflation was going to be transitory. And in fact, was not transitory, like I put in one of my previous videos where she admitted, we misjudged, it's not transitory, blah, 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 blah. And, she's coming out here saying, first quarter we had negative GDP growth, so people are expecting for the second quarter to be negative GDP growth, which she does categorize as a recession. We'll go ahead and roll the clip.
Economists this week. There is a ton of data coming out this week. It's probably a fun week for an economist because we're going to have consumer confidence survey, the second quarter GDP numbers. We got the inflation numbers for June. Which is the indicator? What's the number you're most focused on that will give you a better indication of where this economy is headed?
Well, I look at all the data, and GDP will be closely watched. A common definition of recession is 2 negative quarters of GDP growth, or at least that's something that's been true in past recessions. When we've seen that, there has usually been a recession. And many economists expect second quarter GDP to be negative. First quarter GDP was negative. So we could see that happen, and that will be closely watched. But I do want to emphasize what a recession really means is a broad-based contraction in the economy. And even if that number is negative, we are not in a recession now. And I would warn that we should be not characterizing that as a recession.
I understand that, but you're splitting hairs. I mean, if the technical definition is 2 quarters of contraction, you're saying that's not a recession?
That's not the
No?
That's not the technical definition. There's an organization called the National Bureau of Economic Research that looks at a broad range of data in deciding whether or not there is a recession. And most of the data that they look at right now continues to be strong. I would be amazed if the NBER would declare this period to be a recession, even if it happens to have 2 quarters of negative growth. We've got a very strong labor market. When you're creating almost 400,000 jobs a month, that is not a recession.
Janet.
All right, man. So y'all saw that, you heard that. Now, she did admit that, this is called a recession if it's negative GDP growth for 2 quarters. And now she's kind of trying to change the definition to where she's like, even though it says that, we're not going to call it that because it's not really what it is. And even the dude on the news is like, how are you going to tell us that negative GDP growth 2 quarters in a row is called a recession, and that's what they're going to label it as, and that's the information they're going to use to, make this inference. But now you're saying that you guys have a different definition and it doesn't really mean that. A lot of what Democrats, the left, everything like that, what they do, they change definitions of everything. They change definition of a woman. They're changing the definition of what a recession is. Pretty soon they're going to change the definition of what healthcare is, what a boy is, what a man, everything is just going to have a new definition to fit what it is they want it to fit. But if you look at it, when Trump was in office, the economy was a whole lot better. What was the news and media saying back then? And they were basically saying that we're looking for negative GDP growth. That means 2 quarters of negative GDP growth is a recession. And you know how they were all on Trump. But when it comes to Biden, they just, I don't know what happened. Let's give them a pass for everything. But I'll go ahead and show you guys that they said what it is. It's 2 negative quarters of GDP growth. And, they can try to change the definition all they want, but it is what it is, man. So I'll go ahead and roll that clip.
Derek, you just described a 33% decline in GDP. That is the definition of a recession, my friend.
Well, the definition is really crossing zero, but I take your point. I mean, I think if people will feel a GDP downshift from 3 to 2%, and that's the median forecast, by the way.
Thursday, that first reading of second quarter GDP, there's a possibility this is a negative number. 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth.
The definition of a recession is a decline in output for 2 consecutive quarters, or about 6 months.
A recession is just 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline.
When we talk about the possibility of a recession, what is a recession? A recession is 2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters.
2 consecutive quarters of declining GDP.
Because, as you know, it's 2 consecutive quarters of down GDP.
That signals it is actually a definition of a recession.
I mean, the most common definition of a recession, 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth.
Even if we don't have 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, we might have 1 quarter of growth so deep that it's classified as a recession.
All right, so y'all saw that and heard that too. Now, you know, a way people can get around this recession, if you've been paying attention, if you've been, you know, listening to the wisdom of, I guess, myself and others have been trying to put forth, hopefully you guys have been stocking up on resources, you know, rice, pasta, different things like that. I know the Publix near me, they have a BOGO sale, buy one get one free on a bunch of items, as well as they have like buy 4 boxes of pasta for $5. I'm honestly, after this video, gonna go to the store and buy some more food, as well as, you know, stock up on water if you can, to help combat this recession. Because once like Apple's earning rates come in, Google's earning rates come in, that'll also be a determinant factor on what the market's gonna look like. Because if they actually announce now we're officially in a recession, even though we've been in one, if they announce it now that we're in one, the markets are just gonna go red, man. You know, Ethereum, I have some Ethereum right now. It was up like 1,600. I made like $600 or so on it, and now it's gone down to like 1,300. As I'm looking right now at the charts, everything just to be honest, is just simply all red. Like there's nothing that's green at all. And today, after markets close, Google's doing its earnings, Apple's gonna be doing its earnings, I think on Thursday. They're gonna announce if we're officially inside of a recession. And honestly, you can go ahead and guarantee that we will be in a recession. We've already been in a recession. Not we will be. We've been in one. I don't think anything like that's going to change. And like Apple, Google, Amazon, different places like that, those are key determinant. If people aren't buying Apple products, it's a determinant factor that people aren't really spending money like that. We're going to have some negative GDP growth. We're not booming like they say we are. But those are just my predictions. Like I said, I just want to bring y'all this video just to give you guys, you know, what's actually happening, that it's very important for the markets. If you're thinking about investing in stuff right now, I'd say wait until after Thursday. You still can purchase stuff Friday. I'm not a financial advisor, so this is not financial advice. Just got to throw that out there to protect myself. But if you're thinking about, you know, getting stocks, getting crypto and stuff, just wait till the markets go down a little bit more, especially if they do say we've been in a recession, because things will continue to tank. Go ahead, get you some. You know, while people are fearful, that's when you got to be greedy. And when people are greedy, that's when you got to be fearful. And also just stock up on some food, some water. Make sure you guys save money, pay off your credit or debit cards. I mean, not debit cards, but your credit cards. And yeah, don't spend money on stuff you don't need to spend it on. Because I personally think we've been in a recession for 6 months now, almost probably like a year since Biden took office, but you know, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll be continuing to post content and try to be more active on here as the days go forward. So yeah, it's been your boy Chad, and I'm out. Peace.